I think it is working, yeah. It isn't lying, so that's like enough, I guess. Anyway, what a crazy thing. Is this philosophy? Not really, but anyway, we do what we can with the little words that we know of or about. I don't know. Anyway, am I missing something else? No. Let me also. There we go. Now for real. Here we are. Good evening. I don't know. Anyway, it has been quite a long time since the last occasion that we were here. So yeah, maybe a lot has happened, or if not exactly a lot, enough things happened for us to deserve to be here, and I think that is good. I guess I sort of assume, and yeah, I I can say being is quite wonderful, I guess. Living life is quite an interesting thing. I, I don't know. I don't want to just stay on the self congratulatory statement of yeah, you know, doing the things that you want is nice. It's rather and being capable of participating on the things that you see are part of your interests. Being capable of dedicating yourself to stuff that even if sometimes it seems taxing or it seems tiresome, all of that is still good enough. To some degree, it is good enough, and it is a useful enough thing. In most cases, I guess, because we end up getting the possibility of enjoying just being and whatnot, and that's, I feel like, sufficient in many ways. There is, I have I can say it like this. I have read quite a lot about happiness and about trying to be fulfilled and all of that. And on one hand, I also feel like it's not so impossible to be living a life that gets to live an aftertaste of yeah, I'm having a good life. It's it's just an issue of not acting against what we say that we wish to have more than anything else. I can identify how many cases I stop myself from getting what I want. It's this attitude I guess of I can always think by myself about stuff and sort of avoid doing things, avoid doing something that I might want if I allow myself the privilege of making up an excuse that sounds reasonable enough to justify avoiding anything. And sometimes I can't do it. Some other times I don't really have a necessity to do it. I just believe that it's better to sort of not even try to doing things. And that's when it becomes an issue. At least that's what I feel like. I I don't really want to say yeah, and it's always an accessible thing to go back into a more feeling type of existence, but it's certainly something achievable, I guess, and it can be something that can be performed. It's not at this point in life. I can say I think after enough experiences, after enough time being, I don't feel like I don't even know if I will be happy tomorrow or not. It's more a question of do I feel interested enough in trying to be happy? Am I capable of aiming towards those things that bring me some type of pleasure? Am I interested in having anything of that sort happen, or am I rather just wanting to avoid doing stuff? And obviously, depending on the answer of the question, I will unavoidably find out, yeah, I am living my life, or I'm just living what I say is a sort of life which I don't truly enjoy, which I don't truly agree with, but which at least is mine. Let's say, and that is, I don't know, that is some sort of benefit to some degree. It's not nothing at least. So it makes sense why it's acceptable to have it, but I guess once you get to taste enough times, you get to understand the pleasure of yeah. My life is this handful of things that make me happy. Once you get to have that, it's quite a lot more enjoyable in that way than anything else. It's in some cases I will assume it in with this saying, you need to find out truly how bad things could be to understand or to appreciate later on how nice things also get to be. It's it's a sort of combination of through the different experiences that we all get to have, we can slowly arrive at different conclusions. And by doing that consistently enough, the process of living life gets to be more refined. I will say I have been talking so far about a lot of things, and I can accept that it came sort of out of nowhere. I think about it from more than anything else. It comes from the perspective of yeah, living a conscious life. Is it good? Is it useful? Is it necessary? I wouldn't say it's necessary, but it's certainly at least fulfilling. You can always live the awareness of your own existence at the entrance of the door, so to speak, and you can just keep going with everything else. You don't need truly to think about life. There are some things that I have learned. Also, sorry, welcome, good evening, good afternoon, good night, Caspian. Welcome, hello. I think that, as I was trying to say, I think unavoidably that you can always, if you don't truly feel like it, leave your consciousness at the entrance and keep going with life in a more automated sort of way. Nowadays, if there is something that we have properly done, is we have gained enough things to just not need to think about anything in general, and we can just in this whole way of reactiveness and whatnot, you can just react to life instead of acting on it. And I don't know. I I guess it's something. It's an option. It's an available option, but I would come from it from this side of I think life offers quite a lot of opportunities to be enjoyable besides the basic pleasure, so to speak. Life, the bigger picture of life gets to make it a more entertaining thing to commit yourself to. It's not an existence which has moments of pain that you get to pass by just hoping for the better times, but rather is a whole picture of things that make sense, so to speak. It's this capacity of reasoning that we have, taken to a degree to which it also allows you to see. And yeah, we are we are here doing this because it has a meaning, and because there is some implicit meaning behind those things. It is that continuing forward feels. I wouldn't. I wouldn't know if it is rewarding enough or which sort of term, but yeah, it's something. It's something, and I prefer that. As there are many options. I mean, you could also live a life in which you just torture yourself with negative ideas and all the regrets. I think it's quite easy. I will say it like that. I think it's quite easy to end up falling on, yeah, I was incapable of getting all the things that I wanted. I failed to commit to these things. Regret is quite easy to have about this stuff, to accumulate about this stuff, but it's also a sort of conscious action. I don't truly need to be regretful about everything that happened. I I I don't need to feel regret all the time. Let's say I can handle a little bit of regret about the stuff that happened. I can recognize what came from mistakes, what happened in terms of errors and projects that didn't go anywhere else, and I can I can mourn them, so to speak. I can let them go. I don't. I guess I don't need it to live. There is no actual need to live in the past. If you can go back to this, if you can get something that makes sense, just enough sense, there is no actual need to live in the past. The past is just a nice place to sometimes swim in, but it's truly pointless to just spend your whole day reminiscing about things. I don't. I think, in that sense, there are too many things that could be done right now that are potentially more interesting than just trusting old memories or anything of that sort. I we could say it from the perspective of, I guess, this whole action of being and enjoying being comes also from just not giving up on what is possibilities that the world offers to you. That's a sort of reasonable way to go about it. If not, it's too much of an unnecessary constant attack towards everything that might be related to, yeah, We we have to deal with the issue of carrying all the weight, and we have to deal with the issue of all the things that didn't come to be. And I have to wake up and I have to remember the, all of the mistakes that I committed. I I have to live with the weight of knowing that I didn't get to achieve these things. I know that to some degree there are failures, but I don't truly need to be so hard on myself in that sense. It's we like to talk about it as if it was unavoidable. Let me say it like that. Oh yeah. Most people who things will just unavoidably end up on this pattern of self punishment, of too much self imposed harshness on oneself because you are not your best judge, but it's just proper understanding about what we are, who we are. I guess it's a yeah, it's a complicated topic. It's if I don't even get to sit comfortably with myself, I truly don't have a possibility to speak out any of those things. Also, thank you, Arax. Welcome. Very, very. Que me gusta la Pepsi. Yeah. Ah, thank you. Thank you, Arax. Thank you, Mana. Very welcome. Balls to the walls. So, welcome. Uh, you sort of already know about it, but the shout out takes like time because it is restricted. I think it's like 5 minutes between shoutouts. I think I don't exactly remember, but yeah, thank you very much. I hope you had a nice time. That's that's my message. Today, what are we talking about? No idea. We are talking about life. uh, being. That's that's the point that I was on. Just living, I guess. No idea. But yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. Please. That whole what is it? Etiquette of if you have to go rest, eat, or whatever else. How alive do that. Thank you. But anyway, yeah. As I was trying to say, it's just thinking is not so. Thinking is not such an unenjoyable action. Let's say it like that, and that's enough, I guess. It's there are many things to think about that deserve to be thought about themselves. So it's quite an enjoyable activity to try and just sit for a little bit and plan stuff. It's I don't know. I today, for example, I had the opportunity of talking with a friend, and we was to yeah, contemplation is useful, but not for the sake of this self-feeding contemplation in which you just get to know that you contemplate and because of that you feel thankful or fulfilled, so to speak. No. So sometimes it's useful to stop and think. There are many things that I don't have the possibility of because I know that I need to think about them. Just be capable of doing so. I can rather actively seek out the opportunity to at least think about this stuff. And once once that gets performed, it's a more enjoyable ride to some degree. It's it's a whole lot or a whole year more enjoyable existence. There are, I guess it's the world itself. The world, sorry, has many things that you are not obliged to sit yourself down and try to interpret, but you are at least offered the opportunity to do so. And in some cases, it's a question of, can I spend enough time to understand these things? Can I give or allow myself the chance of thinking? Can I get to do that? Or will I instead just sit here and wait until things, life itself unfolds and things come to a bitter ending that I didn't even try to, I wouldn't say anticipate, it's just, I didn't try to even picture in any way. And it's it's just that I feel like in some way it's not such a complicated formula. It's just what I mentioned before. I don't need to be so much my own enemy. I don't need to act so much against myself. I can have things that will allow me enjoy being. I just need to commit to them, and I can, from a personal perspective, I can say, yeah, I am doing a sort of good show on that, but no, it is still complicated. Also, thank you for the follow. Thank you, thank you very much. But it's everything here makes weird noises. Why? Because I never tried to even change it. Sorry, but yeah. We can ignore that. We can act like it didn't happen. Anyway, uh, thank you. Uh, but yeah, as I was trying to say, I think it's just to some degree it's that it's not such a complicated thing. On the other hand, though, I have been struggling quite a lot. Let me start with this. I have been struggling quite a fucking lot with this one. I think one of the many issues of discussing stuff is unavoidably most people can come up to the realization of, and we don't get to enjoy itself, let's say, living a life in which just we do what we want without any other worry. We always live in connection with others, in correlation with other people, and something that happens instead of that is I also get to observe what others do and what the rest of the world might be interested in. Not implying that I am not myself interested in what everyone else likes, but it's just you can judge others as much as you to some degree unavoidably judge yourself, and instead of that action, I find it once we can understand properly what is the concept of rationalizations themselves, it's quite an interesting thing to see how many things work just because we needed to have rational explanations for stuff. I think I would have thought we would have had better things going on. It's to some degree we have quite a long history of words, let's say. It's still a miracle in some ways to see that, yeah, we have so many things that are the way in which they are just because we cannot come up with anything better. We have ways of living life, we have ways of being that are just the way they are because it's simpler than to have to worry about anything else. And after that, after just having them, every other justification comes. Yeah, yeah. We have we have these systems in which we needed to spend so much time going through a process of learning out things that we might as well never utilize because of the potential that they might have. We might get to through this system that almost never produces any kind of proper advanced project of a human being. We might get once every year somebody quote unquote special or somebody capable of being uh, a beacon of hope for the rest of humanity. We we could change systems, but that we already have this one that works, and we don't need to spend so much time restructuring stuff. That's what I mean with rationalizations. Everything else is to some degree just that. Most things are to some degree just that. More correctly say, we having to stop and think about things makes it very apparent that there are many systems of things that exist around us that are the way they are just because committing to something else is complicated and not living such a I wouldn't know such an aware type of life or yeah, not living such an aware of oneself type of life is once again simpler. I don't I don't need going back to what I mentioned of yeah, you don't have to punish yourself too much with thinking. I can see it function in that sense of yeah. And if you slowly realize that it's just these things of pseudo explanations for stuff, vaguely functional concepts that uphold my actions, not things that I am willing to bet my whole life on, but just plausible enough explanations that allow me to keep going. There are many of those. I don't truly have a wide range of deeply rooted beliefs or strong enough basis for what is myself. I feel like, and it's the open possibility always then of developing everything else that comes with that, but it's sort of in alignment with what I have tried to talk about lately. This thing of honesty. How much can I accept sometimes that I have things that I say are in a certain way, or I used to say it, they are in a certain way, just because I don't truly want to deal with everything else that comes with accepting that truly it doesn't work for me anymore. Do I truly, for example, today, I remember having I feel like it is sort of complicated to express it properly, but I don't feel like I have that much joy anymore from just sitting down and playing a game, you know. It's not that I cannot disconnect myself. I can do it. It's a possibility that I have. If I just turn off my brain, I can actually still do that. But I would rather enjoy continuing doing other things than that. It's this question of yeah, you have free will. How are you actually exerting your free will? It's these modes of being in which, in some cases, we just forget that we truly have control over what we do, and it's the necessity to go back into those places in which pleasure is truly found. And I mean, also, I guess it's to some degree it's complicated. We don't get to have the pleasure of yeah. We all know exactly what we like the most and what is the thing that also that we like, not just because we like it, but also because it is something useful for us. It's a long process in that sense. It's the trial and error of life itself of yeah. Today I will try this thing that might not be as interesting, that might not be as fulfilling, but maybe it is. The only thing that I know so far is I need to try it at least so that I can formulate an opinion later on. But whichever sort of thing it is, or it might be, I can only know only after I have experienced that. It's, I guess this thing I sort of mentioned it before. This thing of being young, I guess, of having so many things still to try and still to do and to go for. Those sort of stuff are useful. And I feel on one hand like it just doesn't happen as much, sadly. In other cases, its existence is certainly painful when you forget that you don't need to just have pain, you know. I I feel on some degree that it's insulting, but yeah, it's there is no need to be so tormented by the prospect of living, you know. And I don't know, controversial opinion, life can be good. That's I guess the idea. That's sort of the point. And I don't know. That's what I said basically. It's just complicated truly to move from what I saw, where are in most cases just rationalizations. I mean, everything is there in order to serve some kind of purpose. I we always avoid this stuff because of some sort of friction, some sort of necessity to avoid discomfort, capacity to not have to feel or experience pain in any way. We always have things of that sort to help ourselves live more relaxed lives. But I don't know. Okay, maybe it is that degree of lack of consciousness of the young age, uh, not proper grasp of how mortal we are, that the young ages bring to people. But yeah, I think that living a more living a more adventurous life is possible. I don't need to just I don't have an obligation rather to just s- forget that I can make things happen. I am in no way truly binded to the position of yeah. I I will have to see everything go away. I will have to see all the people that I care die, and I will get to fulfill no project that I might have. I don't know. The world seems a lot more interactable than what we can predict on an early, on a first glance, on an early judgment. And I think that's enough in some ways. But yeah, I don't know. It's what I tried to say. It's just nice to see that at least on a, I guess, personal level, things can make sense. After that, I guess, the whole issue of then everything else that needs to come after it also needs to happen. You know, gaining this is sort of obvious, but gaining personal satisfaction is easy. I mean, to some degree, you will even remove yourself completely from the social equation, so to speak, and by doing that, you will gain an even easier time when it comes to considering or to feeling happy about being yourself. The less you have to deal with the opinion of others, with what might even be correct judgments about the mistakes that you are committing, the easier it is to live a life of that sort. But on the other hand, I think it's quite useful to have the possibility of existing around other people, being a social creature, and that's when it becomes even harder of a prospect. It might be, maybe, I don't know. I just feel like it is. It is something that we can access. It's not something that we need to avoid. Saying it's sort of, yeah. That is something I can say. I don't even like. I hate when we talk about stuff of that sort, and we like to act itself like it never happens. That, oh yeah, we are around here and we are going out live. I cannot gain enough satisfaction just for myself. For myself, I can honestly satisfy myself quite easily. The act of getting to just fulfill my own needs is not as complicated as it might have looked before. But can I also have any sort of interest on the rest of the world? That's, I guess, the complication of, yeah, living everything else that is just not my own life. Living these other narratives that exist out there, let's say. Can I go back to what I mentioned of everything else is just a rationalization, all this stuff. Can I understand enough that I need to be part of things, that I need to try and make things happen, that I need to be in places, that I need to be around certain types of people, that I need I need to not just be me, but also I need to play a certain role in some other structure, so to speak. Can I get that? Can I allow myself to understand those sort of messages? And I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. I guess it's possible. It's possible to have that sort of water connection. Is a possibility. The issue is pursuing it, I guess. But I don't know. I think it just happens. Enough time trying to understand it leads to a proper conclusion being reached. And there are always this whole idea of making the bigger picture also understandable or clear enough so that I can get it once I look at it again. All of those things can also end proper significations. It's just a work that needs to be constantly done, I guess. That that that's something unavoidable, but also very very dislikable. The faculty of forgetfulness that we get to have. Certainly, that is not so enjoyable. I wish I didn't need to remind sometimes that yeah, this is the meaning of things, and this is the reason for why things happen and whatnot. But on the other hand, at the same time it makes sense. Sadly, we are forgetful, so at least we get to have those experiences that signify everything else. So that's something I feel like. But yeah, I don't know. Just the process of living life is complicated. The prospect of having a life that feels like the one that we want to have is harder to properly explain, so to speak. Harder to properly shape in terms of stuff that is and nothing else. But I don't know. I can say even if at the end of the day, I think for example lately I it is almost daily I just complain of yeah I come here and I am tired. I am certainly tired. But even if every single day one finishes completely demolished from having lived, even if that happens, it doesn't mean that just because I have to deal a little bit with the displeasure of being tired. It wasn't a great day. It's it's just everything else making sense enough and being capable of also appreciating that yeah. Sometimes I need to sit down and just literally rest. Suddenly we got to invent a wonderful mechanisms that we do not get to apply to ourselves, let's say. And sometimes the fantasies of things that could be become more compelling than what reality is. I can feel, I can have, let's say, recovery does not need to be so annoying. But I also can lose myself on the idea of, yeah, maybe tomorrow. Or not exactly tomorrow, but you get the point. Maybe at some point we will get to develop a technology that allows us to never again have to sleep for 8 hours straight. Maybe we are closer than ever to developing this tool that will allow us to have this handful of equipments that will let us in just a question of seconds or minutes get everything that we need, and that will be it. And that's not a bad fantasy, but it's still just a fantasy. I get right now to go to sleep. I get to deal with the degree of tiredness that I feel. I get to deal with the issues that I have. I don't need to try and invent something else. Something that is completely out of my reach in terms of knowledge even. And that's, I feel like enough in some case. Many ways, yeah, many things feel that way in life. I might need to read 1,000 books. I might need to spend hundreds of hours hearing, reading, comprehending and stuff. But I can do it. It doesn't mean that I can't do it. There might be alternatives in some other places of once again just fantastic visions that I get to have about things that are not, or this thing of sitting comfortably in my own skin also. I can compare myself to someone else who, by just looking at a book once, gets to absorb everything. I might not have that skill myself, but I can still learn, you know? The, yeah, it's just that. In some cases, the immediate desire to complain comes, but it also can be avoided. It's it's quite a pointless life once you start to complain so much about everything else of that order is. And I don't know, I think it's good enough. To some degree it's good enough. Life is in general very nice, I guess. That's my statement. And just by knowing that everything else also becomes easier. Moving forward becomes easier, I guess. But yeah, uh, as always says, I am forgetting stuff on our early, but it's just that covers at least the most important things that I could think of. I mean, yeah. There are other things from different orders of, for example, yeah. You could try also to spend your life focusing on things like mental and physical welfare is the word. Uh, Wellness. That's a sort of more accurate one. You can always try to do your best and get as much fit or ready for things as you want. Does it actually mean that it's? I guess it's sort of once you get to understand things enough, it becomes an obligation. If you can't get that's sort of the two-way function of, yeah, you cannot expect to be obliged to do things if for you they don't make any sense. We can try to impose on ourselves things, but if we don't really get the point in why we are doing them, it's not so easy to just out of the blue start following these new mandates, let's say. In comparison, it's justified enough actions are easier to do, are easier to consistently enough apply oneself to. And all of those things are more than anything else just automation, I guess. I don't, I guess it feels like this, let's say. Most of that order of things is also not truly that complicated. Okay, I have to eat well, I have to have enough physical activity. It's there are obviously some order of things that are harder than others. It's not as easy as saying I need to have a good life. That's a lot more of a complicated statement, but if you get enough how you have them, how you do them, that's something that you can follow. That's something that you can do actively instead of just wondering if it ever happens or not, let's say. Also, thank you. Yeah, I guess. But it, that sort of thing that I also feel like once you have that, once you have at the least understood how it works, it just becomes another integrated part to what is being alive. And after that, it's just an easier ride. I feel like it's okay. I get to understand enough. I need to overall an even bigger group of things would be. I need to take care of myself. I don't need to spend so much energy taking care of myself. Actively, it's I might need to spend energy learning how to do it, but after that, everything else is just repetition, and it's something that leaves a lot of space for what I said before. I can't think out things. While I am eating, I get the opportunity to think about stuff. While I am doing some sort of unavoidable physical exercise that I must do to keep myself healthy enough, I can do stuff to also just live on that other side of yeah, contemplating out observing things and thinking what comes next and whatnot. It's not something necessary to say because it's sort of obvious that it happens. I feel like, but yeah, if we need to mention it, yes, unavoidably, it's also something that does happen. I feel like, but the question is, do we truly need to say it? I mean, I don't know. To some degree, I can, at least personally, I can sometimes forget out how truly things are the best that they can be because I am not willing to observe properly enough. So it's sort of also a conscious action to yeah, I can try to pay attention to what is going on really. I mean, at least in this order of things, it's not something so inaccessible in terms of knowledge or in terms of the life that I live, the things that happen around me that I have to think about. And it's just once again, I guess, a reminder, a sufficient enough reminder that just allows the possibility of moving forward to be as swifter as it can be, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can say, okay, I can say I can accept that, yeah, it's quite a dangerous action to also just focus on the good things, but I don't know, man. Sometimes we can spend the whole day worrying about this stuff, but it's easier to just at least have in mind what is possible and try to act in that. I mean, if it were for all the things that I will never achieve, I have, in terms of infinite things, of sets of infinities, it's a bigger set of infinities, the one of things that I will never achieve, than the one of things that I will ever be capable of doing. But both of them are still infinite. This whole idea of every single day, I am presented with choices, and throughout the day, I might end up making 400 choices every single day, or rather consciously or unconsciously. So I can always choose stuff. I can always make mistakes and whatnot. I can always not do things. Is it necessary to be constantly thinking about it's better in that way to, yeah. I recognized what I said before basically. I recognize I didn't do my best. I recognize I didn't get to do that, but I still have everything else in life going on. I have still many other possibilities. The whole potential of existence isn't wasted as long as I get to draw another breath, let's say. but yeah, I don't know. I just, it's the same thing as always. I can't say it. Does it feel like it to anyone else who observes? If this whole idea of what I mentioned before, you get to judge a lot of the things that you see. If someone else were to see how somebody like me lives, will they say that I'm seriously having as much of a good time as I say that I'm having myself? Maybe, maybe not. That's the issue, I guess, with happiness being something so subjective. Not that we truly need to spend time trying to get a more general agreement on it, but it's it's that still not trying to have at all any common grounds leaves too much space for tiny mistakes. It's tiny cuts that through the accumulation make a one bleed enough, let's say. Maybe we're not, it's not wrong to think about the things that you want to do. Maybe it's not wrong to do the things that make you healthy, but maybe what is wrong is to not be fully present in when you are doing them. Allow yourself to distract your actions a little bit with your thoughts. Maybe it's not as useful. in some cases to do this or to do that. Those habits that we form, it's through the accumulation of them that once again the whole potential ends up being hard. But I guess that's unavoidable, unavoidably the awareness that everybody tries to have in regards to themselves. I don't I don't think I can allow myself to be so naive as to believe that yeah, I am always doing everything to the best of my capacities and that's it. I am trying to do my best. But if tomorrow I have to find out that what I was doing was not truly as useful, that there is something else that could be potentially even better, I think it's reasonable enough to want to change. I don't see the point, I guess, in that line of, oh yeah, but change is stressful. I already see enough stress to understand that, yeah, maybe change is stressful, okay, but I still want change rather than continue suffering throughout life. But yeah, I don't know. That has been, I guess, most of what I have been thinking lately. Am I forgetting something? Probably. Unavoidably. But yeah, it's just life, I guess. And that's enough. There's some daily that's enough. And I I can say even as I mentioned sort of before, even if in some cases there are mistakes here and there, it doesn't mean that we truly completely lost everything. It's just something that might need a little bit of an adjustment later on, but that's it. Not bad things are not so such big deals in most cases. The problems are bigger only if I allow myself to keep thinking about them in most cases, or things get to the worst of their states if I don't pay attention, but it doesn't mean that I cannot pay attention. I mean, yeah, that is sort of also what I what I have been thinking about a lot. I guess it's a conjunction of what I mentioned before, this naturalization and absorption of those processes that we can internalize as necessary for our life, and this other side of, yeah, I do not want to fail. I can I can start slowly to see many of the things that I used to do that weren't truly that useful, that weren't truly that beneficial to me, and I can slowly start to separate from them. It's that same line of, am I truly pursuing general satisfaction, or is it just instantaneous sort of satisfaction? I can lose my whole life getting instantaneous satisfaction if that's what I want. Nightshade define you? What? Who What? I, I am literally thinking, I don't know who is Nightshade. I am only thinking about the DLC of remembering. Sorry, someone who I should know. Yeah. Sorry. Continue with what I was saying. This thing of I can allow myself to have just instantaneous pleasure, but I can also say that it is that. I mean, this degree I is also correlated with the honesty of, yeah, how much am I saying that I need it? Like, how much do I truly need it? I can suffer for a little bit, and I won't die if I remove from my life certain equations, certain parts that I used to have before. It change itself is not such a rare phenomenon. Change is almost the constant, the only constant to some degree. Shade, potatoes and tomatoes producing toxic components, not let your own thoughts poison your home. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It makes sense. Well, it makes sense. I mean, from a personal perspective, also, what I always say, if there is not enough harshness with oneself, it's truly complicated to find it out there. The world doesn't offer that much harshness with what we are, with who we are. If anything, it is an uncaring place, and I guess silence hurts more than not getting told if you're going in the right or wrong direction, but it doesn't truly alter you. That degree of honesty of, yeah, yeah, I am fucking up everything that I have. I am rotundly failing in taking care of myself just because I am immersing my life in these things, in these instantaneous lapses of events that do not have any other usage for me besides just the satisfaction of the moment and the satisfaction that might come when I think about it later on. If it was that good, implying that it got to be that good, I most of the world's health doesn't offer that. I feel like. I guess you can say, yeah, yeah. It might come if you were to socialize enough, if you were to rely enough on others. This idea of a big enough social network so that it's not only you having to judge the stuff that happens in your life. I guess put all in different words, this idea of someone else who can also judge you properly, or those around you who can also judge you properly. It can happen, but it's not the only way in which it can happen. Honesty doesn't need to come just from the outside. Obviously, I guess it's a dangerous balance. I will not, yeah, it would be facetious to say, yeah, it's not dangerous to be harsh like that, but if you can trust yourself enough, it's a possibility that you can enjoy. It's something that is achievable to think out the stuff to make sense by yourself of your life. Yeah, yeah. It just it's a process, yes. That's the most easy thing to say at this point. It's a process. And unavoidably, whichever thing it is, it takes time. It just takes time. And because of that, commitment is, I guess, a requirement, but at the same time, in some cases, we like to talk about the stuff as if it was such an impossible thing to have. I don't know, man. I get to be happy. I think unavoidably anybody who gets to be happy will try to have those things that bring happiness to themselves. I guess you can say it in this way. As long as you can have a healthy enough relationship with yourself, you will try to allow yourself to have those things which bring joy to your life. As long as you are functioning in a way in which you do not need to harm yourself. You haven't thought out the necessity of harming yourself as a possible way of existence. Let's say, yeah, you can get access to the things that make you happy. And luckily enough, I guess, at least for what we have here, yeah, and happiness does not come from random stuff in this case. It also comes from life, and that's from a quote unquote good life. Or at least, yeah, from what I can subjectively say is a good life. So that's more than good enough. I don't really need to push myself to make it happen, I guess. It's just something that might as well sort of unavoidably happen. Hmm. But I don't know. I guess sort of what I mentioned before. That's on the individual level. Everything else after that is more complicated. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can satisfy myself. What I said before, there are many ways in which I can bring satisfaction to my own self, and that's it. But every other part of that, which might involve anyone else, that's more complicated. And that's where the work needs to still be done. But yeah, the rest of the world is at least not something that deserves to be disposed of. Not much I can say. Wow. Yeah, the world is worth it. Wow, great statement. But yeah, I don't know. It's just patience, I guess. Patience to think out stuff and do it anywhere. To see anything, mostly. Or to make sense out of it. But yeah, I don't know. I I don't learn how that much more to say than now. Now for real. So yeah, I feel for today. Yes, it was enough. Let's say that's that's sort of the complicated. Yeah, is it long? Is it short? It's enough. It's literally just enough. Everything that I feel was necessary to say was said. So yeah, it was enough. For other metrics, yeah, we can keep discussing. Maybe it is too little time. Maybe it is. I don't know. Sometimes you don't need to think that deeply about this stuff in some way, or you don't need to try and go time and time again to make it understand, or just experience things making sense. That's it. That's sufficient enough. But yeah, anyway, I guess now do you know your question? Hmm? So, so, yeah, I guess we should try some. So, to actually be a streamer, believe it. I cannot believe it. Anyway, yeah, I guess tomorrow. Ah, fucking tomorrow is Saturday. Yeah, tomorrow we'll be here. But tomorrow is bar, so yeah. Uh, anyways, tomorrow, a lot tomorrow of a chill day, I guess. Yeah. Until then, I guess that's it. I don't know. Um, yeah. No. I don't have much more to say. Honestly, no. No point in just making it longer and longer than what it's truly necessary. Uh, I guess talking out nice things, talking out people being happy and whatnot. Yes, I'm pretty sure. Despite, yeah, I'm not somebody who talks out that sort of stuff. On one hand, because I personally cannot really make that much sense of it myself. Um, in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, this guy, he's just enjoying his time with friends. That's a very useful thing to do, you know, to so not in a demeaning manner, but sometimes I forget that I can also get to do that myself, and sometimes it's just as easy as seeing someone else doing that that makes it enjoyable once, or that makes it become yet again a possibility. So yeah, that guy being happy, I guess. That's where we are going. Be happy. Think more than anything else. Think that's my only wish. Think about this stuff. It's there is a time to give up, I guess, but I wouldn't say it is right now. But yeah, anyway, as always, thanks for everything. I don't know. Being thankful enough, I guess, is something complicated. Being capable of demonstrating that we truly are thankful for the things that we have is a completely different matter. I can't say I feel like I am not doing a proper show on that most of the time, but also how much can we say that we are thankful for stuff without feeling like it is forced, without making the other person who ends up being subjected to so much of that feel like it is being shoved down their throat, you know, that, oh yeah, thanks for everything. That's, I guess, the issue of being But anyway, thanks. And whenever we get to, we will be back here. Until then, take care. Good night. Now, the action off. How to fucking turn off the stream? Wow. How to get up and turn it off? What a wonderful action. Anyway.